From Scapegoat to Seer, how the broken child becomes the empath. Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. Khalil Gibran's words remind us that our pain is not punishment, it is preparation. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom. In this video, From Scapegoat to Seer, how the broken child becomes the empath, Carl Jung, we will explore how the wounds of the sensitive child become the gateways to profound empathy and vision. The journey from being the family scapegoat to becoming the spiritual seer is one of transformation, forgiveness, and awakening. As you listen, ask yourself, have your past wounds become your greatest teachers? Share your reflections in the comments. Your story might be the light someone else needs to heal. 1. Synchronicity and divine timing. You didn't find this message by accident. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, the mysterious alignment of inner and outer worlds, where coincidence reveals divine design. In spirituality, this is the moment when your soul and the universe meet halfway, signaling that you are ready for a new level of awakening. Every experience, every thought, every person crossing your path right now is not random. It's a mirror reflecting your readiness to transform. When Jung spoke about the psyche reaching the threshold of readiness, he meant that your unconscious has decided it's time for you to see what was once hidden in the dark corners of your being. Synchronicity isn't about luck, it's about meaning. When you start noticing signs that seem perfectly timed, a song lyric echoing your deepest emotion, a stranger's words answering an unspoken question, or a sudden opportunity appearing just when you need it, you are witnessing your consciousness and the universe dancing in harmony. This is the sacred dialogue between the seen and unseen realms. Spiritual awakening begins when you stop dismissing these patterns as coincidence and start recognizing them as guidance. The more you align with your inner truth, the more life aligns around you, unfolding with precision and grace. In Jungian psychology, synchronicity serves as a bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, reminding you that you are part of something vast and intelligent. Divine timing orchestrates this process perfectly. It doesn't rush. It waits for your spirit to be ready to hold the lessons you once resisted. It teaches you to trust the unseen rhythm that governs your growth. You learn to release control, to stop chasing what isn't meant for you, and to let life reveal its hidden order. When your ego loosens its grip, the universe steps in to move what you cannot. Divine timing is not about waiting, it's about aligning. It's the silent current that carries you to the exact experiences you need for your evolution. Every delay, every disappointment, every door that didn't open was not rejection, but redirection. The more you awaken spiritually, the clearer this becomes. You realize the universe was never punishing you. It was preparing you. Spirituality teaches that surrender is not weakness. It's the highest form of trust. When you stop asking why and start listening to what this is teaching me, you align with the wisdom of divine order. When patterns repeat in your life, they do so because the lesson remains unlearned. Synchronicity is the universe's way of magnifying that message until you finally pay attention. Your reality becomes a mirror of your inner world. The more aware you become, the more transparent the mirror grows. This is how the wounded child transforms into an empath, the one who no longer runs from pain, but understands it as the key to awareness. Through this awakening, you realize that life has never been random. Every moment, even the broken ones, were designed to awaken you into remembering who you truly are. Do you believe that everything happens for a reason, and that divine timing is never wrong? If you do, declare it boldly in the comments. I trust the synchronicity of my life. 2. Critical mass of suffering. Your pain is not punishment. It is precision medicine crafted by your unconscious mind to awaken you to a deeper level of truth. When suffering reaches its critical mass, it no longer stays hidden in the background of your life. It breaks through your ego's walls, dissolving the defenses that once kept you from seeing yourself clearly. Carl Jung called this the transformational threshold, the sacred moment when pain becomes unbearable enough to crack open the shell of illusion and expose the truth beneath. At that moment, something within you shifts. The question changes from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "What is this trying to teach me?" It's no longer just pain. It becomes the gateway to consciousness, the beginning of spiritual growth, and the invitation to step into a new level of self-awareness. The unconscious does not punish, it educates. Every heartbreak, betrayal, or loss carries symbolic meaning. These are not coincidences, but carefully orchestrated experiences designed to awaken the sleeping parts of your soul. Suffering is the soul's language. It speaks through tension, confusion, and discomfort until you finally listen. When the outer world falls apart, it's often because the inner world is demanding rebirth. Your pain is intelligent. It dismantles everything that is false so that something true can finally emerge. Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." This is the essence of spirituality, not avoiding suffering, but transmuting it into wisdom, compassion, and self-realization. Think of the caterpillar dissolving inside its cocoon. To the outside eye, it looks like death. But within that darkness, every cell is reorganizing to give birth to the butterfly. In the same way, when life confines you, isolates you, and forces you into your own shadows, it is not ending you. It is remaking you. The chaos you fear is the alchemy of your soul. Pain is not the opposite of growth. It is the process of growth. The deeper you sink into your suffering with awareness, the more you begin to see its sacred geometry, the perfect order behind the apparent disorder. What feels like collapse is really calibration, an inner realignment with your higher self. If you are in that place, now exhausted, broken, uncertain, understand that you are standing at the threshold of awakening. Life is not tearing you apart. It's clearing away everything that can no longer sustain your light. The ego resists because it confuses safety with familiarity, but the soul knows that liberation requires the death of old identities. The pain you feel is your spiritual rebirth in motion. It strips away everything false until only truth remains. It is not cruelty, it is mercy. Your suffering is the sacred fire that purifies your perception, melting away illusions of control and separation. When your suffering reaches critical mass, something miraculous happens. Surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of resistance. You stop fighting the lesson and begin to flow with it. In that surrender, you meet yourself raw, unmasked, and real. This is where spirituality ceases to be an abstract idea and becomes a lived experience. You learn that the wound was never meant to destroy you, but to open you. Pain is the hand of the divine reshaping your life from the inside out. It is both the destroyer and the deliverer, the dark teacher leading you home to your essence. And when that inner transformation completes its course, you rise not as the same person who suffered, but as the one who finally understood why the suffering was necessary all along. If this message speaks to your soul, comment below. I am transmuting my pain into power. Let this be your declaration that your suffering has reached its sacred turning point. 3. The sacred void. You are in what Carl Jung would call the sacred void, the mysterious space between the death of who you once were and the birth of who you are becoming. It feels empty, confusing, and endless, as if everything that once gave you meaning has vanished. Yet this emptiness is not your enemy. It's your initiation. This void is sacred because it dissolves illusions, breaks false identities, and strips you of everything that cannot survive the light of your awakening. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The universe has paused your momentum, not to abandon you, but to allow the deeper parts of your soul to emerge. As Carl Jung once said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. And that is exactly what this stage is. Your consciousness expanding through the painful shedding of everything unreal. Inside the void, all the roles you once played begin to disintegrate. The mask you wore to be accepted no longer fits. The stories you told yourself to feel safe begin to crumble. The people who once defined you may fade away, leaving you face to face with your own essence. It's terrifying because your ego believes it's dying, but your spirit knows it's being reborn. Spiritual wisdom reminds us that every death is just a doorway into a new life. What you are losing is not truth. It is attachment. What feels like chaos is actually divine order, rearranging itself for your higher good. This is the sacred pause before the next chapter, where your soul whispers, "Be still, and let me rewrite you." In this space, you are meant to feel uncertain. You are meant to question everything, your beliefs, your direction, your identity, because questioning is how the false dissolves. The mind will beg for clarity, but clarity cannot be forced. It must arise naturally once the old has fully burned away. You are the phoenix waiting in its own ashes, and to rush this process would be to deny the very transformation you prayed for. The void teaches patience, humility, and surrender. It is not a space to escape, but to inhabit with awareness. Sit with your confusion and let it soften into wisdom. Feel your loneliness, and you will find divine companionship within it. Every tear, every silence, every sleepless night in this darkness is purifying you for a deeper awakening. The sacred void is the moment between inhaling and exhaling, the stillness between endings and beginnings. It's the universe recalibrating your vibration so that your new reality can match your highest frequency. This is where your old self dies quietly and your true self begins to breathe. It cannot be rushed because it is governed by divine timing, not human desire. You are learning to stop clinging to control, to stop fighting the unknown, and to trust that something greater is already unfolding within you. As Rumi once said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Your emptiness is not lacking. It's a fertile space waiting to be filled with new light, new purpose, new truth. What you feel as nothingness is actually the soil of transformation, and in time, you'll see that the sacred void was not your fall. it was your rising. 4. Your wound is your medicine. Your wound is not a flaw to fix, but a sacred doorway through which your soul learns to see itself. The pain that breaks you is not random. It is your initiation into consciousness. As Carl Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The suffering you feel right now is tailor-made for your awakening, crafted by life itself to bring to the surface everything you have avoided, denied, or buried. Each wound, whether emotional, spiritual, or psychological, is designed with divine precision to expose the walls you built to survive. But when those walls begin to crack, what you once called suffering is simply the light trying to enter. The wound becomes your medicine, not because it feels good, but because it reveals what is real. It dismantles illusions, forcing you to see the truth that the self you thought was whole was only a mask. Carl Jung believed that every neurosis carries within it the seed of transformation. What you resist most, your fear, shame, grief, is not a mistake, but a message. It is the psyche's way of saying, wake up. When you stop running from your pain and begin to meet it with awareness, you start the sacred process of individuation, the integration of all that you are, both light and shadow. The wound shows you where you are still divided, where love has not yet reached, where forgiveness still trembles in silence. The same trauma that once silenced you becomes the teacher that helps you speak your truth. The betrayal that made you doubt humanity becomes the lesson that teaches you discernment and boundaries. The loneliness that once hollowed you out becomes the temple where your soul learns to listen. This is not punishment. This is precision. In spirituality, pain is the language of transformation. It dismantles the false identity that the world gave you so that you can remember who you were before conditioning began. The broken child within you, the scapegoat who carried the unspoken burdens of the family, was not cursed. He was chosen to feel deeply enough to awaken. What you once called weakness is your gift of empathy, your ability to sense the invisible, to understand others beyond words. Through the crucible of suffering, the scapegoat becomes the seer, the one who perceives truth beyond illusion. Each wound refines perception. Each heartbreak sharpens vision, until you no longer see through the eyes of pain, but through the eyes of wisdom. Jung reminded us, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Your wound is that darkness asking to be made conscious. To face it is to meet your own shadow, to reclaim the lost fragments of your soul, to finally become whole. Spiritual awakening is not the escape from suffering, but the deep acceptance of it as your greatest teacher. The moment you realize this, your pain no longer defines you. It liberates you. Your suffering becomes your alchemy. Your tears become the water of rebirth. And the wound you once hid becomes the mark of your initiation into a deeper humanity and a higher consciousness. In truth, your wound has always been your medicine. It was never meant to destroy you, only to awaken you. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your reflections in the comments below. Let's continue uncovering the truth behind secret number 4. How your wound becomes your greatest medicine. 5. From madness to sanity. You're not losing your mind. You're reclaiming it piece by piece as your soul begins to awaken from the trance of conformity. What feels like chaos is not madness, but the first whisper of truth returning to you. when the world around you runs on autopilot, asleep within the illusion of normality, your inner disruption becomes a sacred sign that you are beginning to see. You start to notice how society rewards numbness, how it praises masks over authenticity, and suddenly, the life that once felt stable begins to tremble. This trembling is not your downfall, it is your awakening. You are feeling the friction between who you were told to be and who you truly are. What you once called madness is, in truth, the breaking of false walls that confined your spirit. To see through illusions is painful because every illusion you outgrow takes a piece of your old identity with it. You begin to reject the shallow comforts of conformity, and in doing so, you discover that what the world calls sanity is often the real sickness. In a society addicted to distraction, feeling deeply is an act of rebellion. Spirituality teaches that awakening is not a soft ascent into light, but a burning away of everything untrue. You are not breaking down, you are being refined. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain," and those words echo in the heart of every empath who has ever mistaken sensitivity for weakness. To feel everything so intensely is not a flaw, it is evidence of your transformation. The empath perceives not only the words people say, but the silence between them, not only the smiles they wear, but the energy that trembles beneath. This gift, born from suffering, becomes the light that guides you through the darkness. When your emotions rise like storms, do not fear them. They are cleansing rivers, washing away the dust of illusion. The spiritual path often feels like losing yourself because, for the first time, you are meeting who you truly are. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt is part of the sacred unfolding that leads from fragmentation to wholeness. As you move through this process, the world may label you as unstable or lost, but it is only because you are no longer following the collective script. You are writing your own story, one rooted in awareness rather than approval. The old patterns crumble, relationships shift, and the familiar begins to fade. But in that emptiness, a deeper truth emerges. The privilege of a lifetime, Jung reminded us, is to become who you truly are. Sanity, then, is not found in the absence of pain, but in your capacity to hold that pain with wisdom. What you are experiencing is the soul's natural rebellion against falsehood. You are being called to see beyond appearances, to trust the deeper intelligence moving within your suffering. Every wave of emotion is a teacher. Every moment of confusion is a doorway. You are not fragile. You are being purified by truth. From madness to sanity, this is not a collapse. It is a resurrection. The mind may tremble, but the spirit stands taller each day, remembering that true sanity is not found in conformity, but in consciousness. This is the essence of spirituality and the sacred movement of spiritual growth. To awaken, to feel, to see, and to become real again. 6. Dark night before dawn. The darkness you feel right now is not an ending. It is the disguised dawn of your transformation. Everything that once gave you comfort must crumble so that something far greater can be born from within you. Carl Jung, the father of deep psychology and spiritual wisdom, called this the midnight before dawn, the moment when confusion reaches its peak. Pain begins to purify the soul, and rebirth is no longer a distant promise, but an unfolding reality. You are not being punished by life. You are being prepared by it. The chaos surrounding you is not random. It is the dismantling of the false self, the death of old patterns that no longer serve your awakening. The suffering that once felt meaningless is the sacred fire burning away illusion, making room for the truth of who you really are to emerge. There is a point in every journey where the soul is forced to face its own shadow. Jung taught that there is no coming to consciousness without pain, because light only becomes visible against the backdrop of darkness. The empath, the seer, the awakened one is not born in peace, but in pressure. You are being stretched between who you were and who you are becoming, between the comfort of ignorance and the clarity of awareness. This inner tension is divine. It is the signal that something holy is happening within you. Like a seed buried in the soil, you must crack open before you can rise. And though it may feel like your entire world is collapsing, it is only the outer shell of limitation that is breaking apart to reveal the luminous core of your being. Imagine the caterpillar dissolving within its cocoon. It has no idea it's becoming a butterfly. It only knows that its body is dissolving into chaos. The same metamorphosis is happening inside of you. Your old identity, shaped by pain and fear, is dissolving so that your spirit can remember its wings. The dark night is not here to destroy you. It is here to refine you. You are being taught that real spirituality is not about escaping suffering, but transforming it into wisdom. Jung believed that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. To face your inner night without running is the act of ultimate courage. To accept your shadow instead of fighting it is the beginning of freedom. So when everything feels uncertain, when the people and structures that once defined you begin to fall away, trust that you are in the sacred process of becoming. The more you surrender, the more clearly you will see that life was never taking something from you. It was returning you to yourself. Every tear you shed is polishing the mirror of your perception. Every loss is shaping the vision of the empath, the one who sees beyond pain, beyond appearances, beyond fear. This is the alchemy of the soul, the transformation of wounds into wisdom, suffering into sensitivity, despair into divine clarity. The night you are walking through is the birthplace of your light, and when the dawn finally arrives, you will realize it was never outside of you. It was growing quietly within you all along. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights like this. Comment, "Rise again," below if you've walked through your own dark night and found the light within. 7. The 5 revelations as a whole. The 5 revelations, critical suffering, the sacred void, the specific medicine, the return to sanity, and the disguised dawn form the spiritual architecture of awakening, the hidden map that turns the wounded child into the awakened empath. Each revelation is not just a step, but a necessary descent into the inner labyrinth of the soul, where pain transforms into wisdom and darkness becomes light. Your psyche, through divine timing, has chosen this exact moment to reveal them, not to comfort you, but to confront you with truth. The first revelation, critical suffering, is where the illusion shatters. It is the moment life no longer allows you to pretend. Everything false begins to collapse identities, roles, beliefs, and you find yourself standing naked before your own shadow. This is not punishment. It is initiation. The child within, once ignored, now demands to be heard. What feels like chaos is actually sacred order. What seems like loss is the pruning of all that blocks your light. Carl Jung said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain," and this is where that truth becomes real. You are being stripped not to destroy you, but to awaken you. Then arrives the sacred void, the space where everything that once defined you disappears. It feels like nothingness, yet it is everything. It is the divine pause, the silence between death and rebirth. Many fear this phase because it feels like abandonment, but it is actually divine protection. In this stillness, the noise of the ego fades, and your soul begins to whisper. This is where spirituality deepens, where awakening takes root. You begin to sense that the void is not empty. It is full of unseen presence. What once felt like isolation becomes intimacy with the universe itself, a sacred recalibration of your entire being. Out of that stillness emerges the specific medicine, the third revelation that teaches every wound hides a cure. The very pain that once broke you open becomes the wisdom that heals you and others. This is the alchemy of consciousness, where suffering becomes service. You realize that empathy is not a weakness, but a superpower born from your ability to feel deeply and see clearly. The pain was never meant to crush you. It was meant to carve you into a vessel of compassion. The medicine you carry is unique to your scars, and it awakens when you stop running from them. In this recognition, you begin to walk not as a victim of your past, but as a teacher of your own healing. From here, you enter the return to sanity, not as the man you once were, but as someone transformed. Sanity no longer means conforming to the world's madness, but living in alignment with your truth. You stop over-explaining, stop seeking validation, stop reacting to chaos. There's a calm that no storm can touch, a quiet strength born from integration. Jung called this individuation the uniting of the conscious and unconscious self. You become whole, both human and divine, aware of your darkness, but no longer controlled by it. This is spiritual maturity, the awakening of true authority within. And finally comes the disguised dawn, subtle yet profound. After the long night of the soul, light returns, not with noise, but with peace. It's not about being reborn. It's about remembering you were never dead. The dawn hides in plain sight, revealing that the soul was guiding you all along, even in the dark. You no longer chase enlightenment, you live it. The awakening is complete when you realize there is no separation between light and shadow, heaven and earth, you and God. These 5 revelations are not linear. They spiral, each one leading you deeper into truth. And as you live them, you discover that every fall was a sacred descent into the heart of divinity. Every tear, a baptism into consciousness, and every ending, the disguised beginning of your spiritual awakening. 8. Synchronicity as confirmation. When synchronicity begins to unfold in your life, it's not a random coincidence. It's a sacred conversation between your soul and the universe, revealing that your path of spiritual growth has already begun. Carl Jung believed that synchronicity is the psyche's way of confirming that transformation is imminent, especially during moments when life feels uncertain or heavy. When you start noticing patterns, numbers repeating, words you need to hear, or signs that seem to echo your inner emotions, these are not accidents. They are reflections of your unconscious mind aligning with the external world. In spirituality, synchronicity is not just a sign. It's proof that your inner work is manifesting into the outer reality. It whispers, "You are in harmony with something larger than yourself. You may feel like you're losing control, but in truth, you're gaining clarity. The old layers of your identity are dissolving so that your authentic self can emerge. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." These meaningful coincidences are your invitation to awaken from old patterns and to begin living with greater awareness and purpose. As you move through moments of confusion, remember that transformation often disguises itself as chaos. The darkness you walk through is not punishment, it's preparation. Just as dawn forms while the night still lingers, your new self is already taking shape, even when you can't see it clearly. Every challenge you face now is guiding you toward a higher level of consciousness. Synchronicity is the universe's gentle nod, telling you to trust the process, to stay open, and to allow your inner wisdom to guide you. You are not breaking down, you are breaking through. The pain you feel is the cracking of your old shell, making room for the expansion of your spirit. This is spirituality in motion, the quiet but powerful unfolding of your true essence. So when you see the signs, those small yet undeniable alignments, pause and acknowledge them as messages of affirmation. They are confirmations that you are exactly where you need to be, that your soul is orchestrating something beyond logic. Trust that your awakening is not an accident. Every step, every delay, every unexpected turn is divinely timed. Stay with the process. Keep your heart steady in faith. The universe has already confirmed your readiness for transformation. What looks like an ending is merely a sacred beginning. The dawn of your deeper awareness, your spiritual rebirth, and the moment your light begins to rise. Every empath's journey begins with pain, but it does not end there. What once broke you was never meant to destroy you. It was preparing you to see beyond illusion and to love with greater depth. The scapegoat becomes the seer, not by escaping the darkness, but by walking through it with open eyes and an open heart. So as you move through your own life, remember, every wound you heal within yourself becomes a light for someone still lost in theirs. Let your past shape compassion, not bitterness. Let your pain refine your wisdom, not harden your heart. If this message spoke to you, share your thoughts in the comments below. How has your pain become your teacher? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our spiritual wisdom community, where we turn wounds into wisdom and silence into light. The universe sent you here for a reason. Your greatest comeback starts now. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." And maybe that's exactly why the universe led you here, to awaken something that's been asleep within you for far too long. This isn't just another motivational video. It's a spiritual reminder that your pain, your delays, and even your detours are not punishments. They're preparation. The universe didn't make a mistake choosing you. It's inviting you to rise, to see your story not as a tragedy, but as the setup for your greatest comeback. So as you listen today, don't just watch and reflect. Ask yourself, what lesson has life been trying to teach me through all of this? Comment below and share your insight, because your realization might be the message someone else needs to hear today. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where your awakening begins. 1. Synchronicity as signals. Synchronicity is not a coincidence. It is the universe whispering in a language only the awakened can hear. When a song echoes your inner emotions, when a book opens to a line that mirrors your pain, or when a symbol appears repeatedly in your path, these are not random events, but signs that your inner and outer worlds are aligning. In the realm of spirituality and spiritual awakening, such moments are not accidents, they are messages. They mark a sacred threshold, a point in time when your consciousness begins to synchronize with the higher intelligence guiding your life. Carl Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, a mirror between psyche and matter, proving that the soul and the universe move together in divine rhythm. Every meaningful coincidence you experience is a thread connecting your personal evolution with the larger pattern of destiny. The universe speaks through subtle patterns, weaving together fragments of your past, your emotions, and your desires to form one continuous message. You are being called home to yourself. When you start paying attention to these signals, life transforms from chaos into communication. The people you meet, the words you overhear, the timing of every event, all become reflections of your inner frequency. The universe doesn't shout. It sends gentle echoes that only a quiet, receptive mind can hear. When you begin to awaken spiritually, you notice that everything is interconnected. The missed opportunities, the heartbreaks, and the detours no longer feel like punishment, but preparation. Synchronicity teaches you that every closed door redirects you toward the right one. It reminds you that the universe has always been on your side, guiding you through symbols, numbers, and patterns that appear at the exact moment you're ready to see them. These signs are confirmations that your soul's path is unfolding perfectly, even when your mind struggles to understand it. The moment you start recognizing synchronicities, something profound shifts within you. Your reality becomes alive, responsive, and intimate. You begin to sense that the world is not outside of you. It's within you, mirroring your thoughts and emotions in physical form. A random encounter becomes destiny's nudge. A dream becomes a message. The universe starts to feel like a living presence, orchestrating events with mathematical precision to awaken your awareness. This is the threshold where your greatest comeback begins, not through control or force, but through trust, alignment, and surrender. Carl Jung once said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Synchronicity is that moment when fate becomes conscious. It's the universe holding up a mirror, showing you that you've never been lost, only redirected. Every time you recognize these divine patterns, your awareness expands, and you rise a little higher in your journey of spiritual awakening. Life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. You move with the rhythm of the cosmos, guided by invisible threads that pull you toward your higher purpose. So when the next coincidence arrives, a number that repeats, a phrase that pierces your soul, or a moment that feels too aligned to ignore, don't dismiss it. It's a conversation between you and the divine, reminding you that your path is alive with meaning. Synchronicity is not just a sign, it is an invitation. It is the universe saying, you are ready. Ready to return to yourself, to walk through the threshold, and to remember that nothing in your life has ever been random. Everything has been preparing you for this awakening. Comment below. I trust the signs of the universe. if you're ready to follow the synchronicities guiding your greatest comeback. 2. The self is awakening. Beneath the surface of who you think you are, beyond the name, the image, the expectations you carry of something timeless and indestructible is stirring within you. Carl Jung called it the self, the divine center of consciousness that lies deeper than the ego and the persona. When this awakening begins, it doesn't arrive with loud announcements or clear explanations. It begins as a quiet restlessness, a growing sense that something is missing even when everything seems to be in place. You start to feel life more intensely. The colors seem brighter, the sounds more alive, and emotions rise like waves you can no longer ignore. It's as if an invisible current is pulling you toward truth, asking you to shed what is false and remember what is real. This stirring isn't confusion, it's an invitation to spiritual growth. You're being asked to look within, to face the layers of illusion you've built around your heart, and to meet the soul that has always been waiting for your attention. Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." The awakening begins when you stop chasing validation and start listening to your inner voice. You may feel the tension between who you were and who you are becoming, and that tension is sacred. It's the friction that shapes transformation. Your pain is not a sign of failure. It's the alchemy of your becoming. Every unanswered question, every heartbreak, every disappointment is life pushing you to return to your core. The universe doesn't break you down to punish you. It does so to awaken the self within you, the part that no circumstance can destroy. As the false layers fall away, you begin to sense a deeper intelligence guiding you, a force that has always been there, waiting for your awareness to catch up. This is the beginning of your real comeback, not one driven by ambition or control, but by surrender and alignment. When you stop resisting and allow yourself to be shaped by the unseen hand of life, you move from surviving to truly living. Spirituality is not an escape from the world, but a way of perceiving it with open eyes and a steady heart. As this awakening unfolds, you realize that the self is not something to be reached, it's something to be remembered. It has been quietly watching as you played the roles of your story, waiting for the moment you would notice its presence again. And now, that time has come. The unease you feel is your soul knocking on the door of your awareness, asking you to come home. When you answer that call, your energy begins to change, your perception expands, and your life starts reflecting the truth of who you really are. Beneath every doubt and fear lies the eternal knowing that you are guided, that you are enough, and that your spirit has always known the way. This is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of your return to wholeness. 3. Clearing before returning. When old passions begin to fade and relationships start to feel hollow, it isn't a punishment, it's preparation. The universe is clearing the clutter so you can rediscover your truest self. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that's exactly what's happening. Life is pulling back the curtains on what no longer serves your evolution. The emptiness you feel is not a loss. It's an invitation to step into alignment with who you were always meant to become. Every silence, every ending, every unraveling is the universe whispering, "Make space for your return." You're not going backward, you're coming home. This is not a rewind, but a sacred return to your essence. Think of the caterpillar that must dissolve completely before transforming into a butterfly. Its stillness, its isolation, even its darkness are part of the process. In the same way, your soul is cocooning now, dissolving everything false so that what's real can rise. Jung taught that there is no coming to consciousness without pain, and that truth reveals why you might feel lost or unmotivated. Your passions didn't disappear, they're being refined. You've outgrown the frequency of your former self, and now life is tuning you to a higher one. The relationships that no longer fit, the dreams that suddenly lose their pull, the emotions that rise and fade, they're all messengers. They're showing you what cannot travel with you into your next chapter. Before the light can fill the room, the dust must be cleared. Before truth can build, illusion must fall. You're not being abandoned, you're being emptied so that divine fullness can take its place. This clearing is an act of love, a cosmic intervention designed to redirect your focus inward, where your power truly lives. So when everything feels like it's falling apart, remember, this is your soul reorganizing itself. The universe sent you here for a reason to awaken, to remember, to rebuild from truth. You are being stripped only of what was never truly you. Your comeback will not be loud or dramatic. It will be subtle, sacred, and powerful, a quiet rising from within. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom, the understanding that every ending is a beginning disguised as loss. You are not being erased, you are being revealed. And as Carl Jung's insight reminds us, your journey is not about becoming more, it's about remembering what you already are. Do you feel this truth resonating within you? If you do, affirm it with faith in the comments. I am ready to clear the past and rise stronger than ever. 4. Unmasking and unsigning the contract. You start to realize that most of your life has been lived under silent agreements. You never consciously signed roles and identities handed to you by family, society, or fear. You've been conditioned to please, to adapt, to shrink yourself for the comfort of others, as if your worth depended on how well you could perform in someone else's story. But spirituality is not about performance. It's about liberation. Spiritual awakening begins the moment you withdraw from that invisible please others contract and dare to give yourself permission to exist without needing external approval. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That truth hits deeper when you realize that every smile you forced, every mask you wore, and every moment you silenced your needs was a small betrayal of your own soul. The universe doesn't punish you for pretending, it simply waits, patiently, for you to remember who you are beneath the roles. When you begin unmasking yourself, it feels like standing naked before life. Every false identity begins to crumble, the achiever, the caretaker, the strong one who never breaks. You start to see how much energy went into maintaining these roles, how you lost your natural rhythm, trying to meet expectations that were never yours to fulfill. This unmasking isn't rebellion, it's alignment. It's the quiet recognition that authenticity is not arrogance, it's integrity. You stop asking for permission to feel, to rest, to want something different, and instead start honoring the voice that has been whispering within you all along. As the layers fall away, something extraordinary happens. Peace begins to replace anxiety. confidence takes the place of fear, and you no longer feel the need to prove your worth to anyone. Carl Jung taught that what we repress doesn't disappear. It hides in the shadow, waiting to be integrated. And when you take off the mask, you don't just reveal your light. You reclaim your shadow too. You begin to understand that your flaws are not failures, but fragments of unexpressed truth. The moment you stop living for approval, you step into your own authority. You become the man who no longer measures his value by validation, but by alignment with truth, with purpose, with the rhythm of his own spirit. Spiritual awakening isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle, like the soft turning of the earth toward the sun after a long winter. It's a deep knowing that you no longer need to chase love because you have become love in motion. And as you move through this transformation, you realize that your greatest comeback isn't about rebuilding your old self. It's about remembering your real one. Every no to what drains you becomes a yes to your evolution. Every time you choose authenticity over performance, you rise higher in truth. You begin to see that the universe sent you here not to fit in, but to awaken, to show others what it looks like when a man reclaims his soul. This is not just healing, it's resurrection. The masks fall, the old contracts dissolve, and in their place, a new agreement emerges, one written in the language of freedom, courage, and spiritual wisdom. And from that moment on, you no longer live by the world's script. You live by your own truth, a truth the universe has been waiting for you to remember. Leave your like and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next insight that awakens your soul. Type in the comments, "I release the old contract and step fully into my divine purpose." 5. Descent to reclaim power. Nekia. Every true transformation begins with descent. In Jungian spirituality, this sacred process is known as Nekia, the journey into your inner underworld where the forgotten parts of your soul await rediscovery. When life brings you to your knees through grief, rage, or loneliness, it is not punishing you. It is guiding you back to the lost chambers of your being. The darkness you fear is not meant to destroy you, but to reveal what you've buried beneath the noise of survival. As Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The descent is not a fall from grace, but an act of spiritual growth, a necessary confrontation with the raw and unfiltered truth of who you are beneath every mask you've worn. In these depths, you meet the parts of yourself that were exiled long ago, the innocent child silenced by pain, the wild voice muted by fear, the artist who forgot how to dream, and the life force that once pulsed with wonder. You begin to realize that these fragments were never lost, only hidden. Each emotion that arises from your anger, your sadness, your isolation is a messenger calling you back home. The true essence of spirituality is not about ascending beyond pain, but about entering it with awareness and compassion, transforming it into wisdom. When you face your shadow without judgment, you unlock a doorway to unimaginable freedom. As you navigate this inner descent, you discover that grief softens into clarity, rage burns away illusion, and loneliness becomes the sacred silence where your soul speaks again. What once felt like ruin now feels like initiation. You start to feel your own energy returning stronger, purer, more alive. The child within you begins to laugh again. Your voice grows steady and certain, your creativity flows with effortless grace, and the life force within you reignites like fire meeting oxygen. The universe didn't send you here to escape the dark, but to master it, to find the divine spark hidden in the very places you tried to avoid. This journey through your underworld is your greatest comeback. Not a triumph of ego or worldly success, but a resurrection of spirit. You are not rising as the same person who once fell. You are returning as someone whole, grounded, and profoundly alive. This is what it means to truly awaken, to reclaim the fragments of your soul, to embrace your darkness as sacred, and to let the light emerge not from avoidance, but from deep integration. Spirituality is not a flight from life. It is the courage to live it fully, to descend into the depths of your being, and to rise again carrying the wisdom of your own rebirth. 6. Collapse as course correction. Collapse is not the end. It is the universe's gentle yet powerful way of redirecting you toward truth. When everything falls apart, it's not because life is punishing you. It's because life is stripping away the illusions that kept you small. Exhaustion and emptiness are not signs of weakness. They are sacred messengers, whispering that the false identity you've been carrying has reached its breaking point. As Carl Jung once said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. What you call failure is often the soul's rebellion against the roles and masks that no longer fit who you are becoming. In that silence after the storm, when everything external fades and all that's left is you, something extraordinary happens. You begin to hear your soul calling you home. That moment of surrender, that pause in the chaos, is not destruction. It's initiation. When the old version of you collapses, resist the urge to rush into fixing it. The ruins are sacred. They hold the blueprint of your rebirth. Sit with your discomfort. Let the silence teach you, and listen to what your exhaustion is trying to reveal. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom reminds us that true awakening doesn't come from avoiding the darkness, but from walking straight into it. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, he said, but by making the darkness conscious. This is where your real strength is born, not in pretending to be unshaken, but in meeting your shadows with compassion and truth. Every breakdown carries within it a hidden breakthrough, a divine opportunity to meet the self that has been waiting behind the walls of pretense. The emptiness you feel is not a void. It is sacred space being cleared for something truer to take root. You are not being undone. You are being reassembled in alignment with who you were always meant to be. Each moment of stillness, each breath of surrender, invites your spirit to take the lead once more. Life has a way of dismantling everything that isn't real, so that only authenticity remains. The exhaustion, the confusion, the silence, all of it is preparation. You are not falling apart. You are falling into alignment. So when it feels like you've reached your limit, remember that collapse is course correction, not catastrophe. The universe is precise in its timing, compassionate in its methods, and intentional in its chaos. You are not being abandoned. You are being called to awaken. Your greatest comeback does not begin when you rise. It begins the moment you stop resisting the fall. Because in that fall, you finally release the false self. And in that release, you return home to your soul, the place where all true power, purpose, and peace begin. If you find this content touching your heart, please consider becoming a member to receive more in-depth lessons and direct support from me. 7. Centered authenticity and chosen solitude. You begin to center yourself in the quiet truth of who you are, no longer bending your spirit just to be accepted by those who cannot meet your depth. There's a point in every man's journey when he stops chasing applause and starts seeking alignment, when he realizes that authenticity is not rebellion, it's remembrance. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That's the essence of spiritual awakening, anchoring yourself in an inner axis so stable that no external storm can shake your peace. You start setting boundaries, not as walls, but as gates of self-respect. You say a clear yes when your soul agrees, and an unapologetic no when it doesn't. This simple act of honesty becomes your daily practice of spirituality. And yes, some people will drift away when you stop performing for their comfort, but you learn to let them. Because when something leaves your life after truth enters, it's not loss, it's divine alignment. You begin to see that every goodbye carries a sacred purpose. Every departure opens space for what is meant to arrive. Jung once warned, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." You finally understand that most of your life wasn't shaped by destiny, but by the fear of rejection and the need for approval. Spiritual wisdom teaches you that real peace doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being real. The more you embrace your authentic rhythm, the more life stops feeling like survival and starts feeling like flow. You discover that solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. In chosen solitude, you reconnect with your inner compass, and the noise of the world fades into background music. You begin to hear your own soul again, whispering the truth you once ignored, that your worth was never dependent on anyone's recognition. This is the moment of rebirth. Jung described the slow death of the false self and the resurrection of your truest identity. You realize that being alone is not a sign of emptiness, but of fullness, because your energy no longer leaks through people who misunderstand you. You prefer depth over distraction, silence over noise, realness over validation. Each day, you live more consciously, no longer controlled by old wounds or social masks. You walk differently, slower, steadier, with a quiet confidence that doesn't need to explain itself. That is spirituality in motion. The art of standing so rooted in your truth that the universe bends to meet your frequency. You no longer chase connections, you attract resonance. You no longer beg for belonging, you embody it. Every boundary becomes a doorway to peace. Every act of self-honor becomes an offering to the divine within you. And as you live this way, your comeback isn't loud or dramatic. It's silent, profound, and unstoppable. 8. The Kairos moment, act now. When conformity begins to hurt more than freedom, that is the sacred signal of awakening, the inner lock clicking open, urging you to live from your true center. Carl Jung would call this the Kairos moment, a divine intersection where the soul whispers that you can no longer betray your essence just to belong. It is the instant when the discomfort of pretending outweighs the fear of becoming, when the cost of staying small becomes too heavy to carry. In that moment, life begins to reorder itself, not by control, but by resonance. The energy you radiate, once misaligned and muted by compromise, starts to harmonize with a higher rhythm. Spirituality, in its purest form, is not about escape from reality. It's about alignment with your deepest truth, the quiet revolution of returning to yourself. Each act of authenticity is an act of spiritual growth. Every time you choose honesty over habit, faith over fear, or truth over acceptance, you awaken another layer of your inner being. The universe responds not to the mask you wear, but to the frequency you emit. When you live from your center, you stop chasing outcomes and begin attracting experiences that mirror your vibration. Life starts to rearrange itself like a symphony, finding its harmony after long dissonance. People, opportunities, and blessings appear not as rewards, but as reflections of your alignment. And though this process may shake the old foundations, it is not destruction, but transformation. Not chaos, but divine order, reestablishing itself through you. The comeback, as Jung would say, is not a single victorious return. It is the ongoing act of remembering the self. It happens in quiet moments when you refuse to shrink back into who you once were, when you stop performing and start being. It is a spiritual practice of courage, returning again and again to the place within you that knows peace even when life feels uncertain. True spiritual growth does not unfold in straight lines. It spirals. It revisits old wounds with new wisdom, old fears with new strength. Each descent into confusion becomes a deeper ascent into clarity. The universe doesn't test you to break you. It tests you to show you what can no longer hold you. Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." The moment you dare to look inward, you begin to awaken from the hypnosis of conformity. You see that the comeback is not about regaining what was lost, but reclaiming what was always yours. The wisdom, the peace, the divine rhythm that has been waiting beneath the noise. The Kairos moment is now, this very breath, this very heartbeat, reminding you that freedom begins when you stop asking permission to be yourself. You were not sent here to fit in. You were sent here to rise, to remember, and to reorder your life by resonance. And the moment you live from your center, the universe will meet you halfway, guiding you into the life that has been waiting for your return all along. If this message stirred something in you, let today be your Kairos, your opportune moment to begin your homecoming. Start small. Notice one synchronicity. Remove one mask. Say one honest yes or no, and give 10 quiet minutes to your inner center. Your greatest comeback isn't about perfection. It's about choosing truth over approval, presence over performance, and alignment over exhaustion. One simple act at a time. Which sign from today's video spoke to you most? The synchronicities, the clearing, or the courage to be real? Tell us in the comments and declare your intention. I choose my comeback now. If this helped, like, subscribe, and share so more souls can find their way home. You're here for a reason. And on spiritual wisdom, we'll keep walking this path with you.